Hi, everybody. My name is Jared Milrad. I'm the founder of Movie Karma. We're a nonprofit organization that created our podcast here called Rewriting Hollywood, which focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as social impact. We're really looking at the power of storytelling and how it's harnessed for social good and social change all around the world. And today I'm really excited to have a special guest, an award-winning director, Cyrus Neshvad, who has a heartbreaking and really moving short film that is now Oscar shortlisted for the Oscars in 2023 here. The film is called The Red Suitcase, and again, shortlisted for the 95th Academy Awards. It tells a heartbreaking story of a 16-year-old Iranian girl who is visibly terrified after picking up her red suitcase at the airport, and has some difficult decisions to make. And we'll dive into all of that as well as Cyrus's background right now. So Cyrus, thanks so much for being on the show. It's really great to have you on.
Hello, Jared. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's dive in, Cyrus. I'd love to start with just your background here. I understand you're a Luxembourg director of Iranian origin. You've directed quite a few short films, such as The Orchid, Antoine, Sun, Portraitist. You've been really successful at the film festival circuit as well, over 300 festivals, I understand, and 30 of them have been Oscar qualifying. Tell us a little bit about just your journey, if you could, Cyrus, in terms of how you got into filmmaking and why you thought that was a path you wanted to pursue.
Actually, when I was a kid, we were in Luxembourg. Do you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you well.
Yeah, so I was in Luxembourg as a kid, and it was for me very difficult to communicate with the other boys and my friends and so on. So I was always drawing something to show them what I wanted to mean. And suddenly I had quite in few days, I had a lot of drawings which I put next to each other, and suddenly it was connected to a story of my day, and then the story of my week. And actually it was fun for me. So I decided if I have the possibility to do it as my, more professionally later,
Fascinating. And so did you have filmmakers or directors in your family or anything like that, or anyone that was mentoring you, or no?
No, whoever was around me said, don't do this. It's here, it's there, find security. And especially we are migrants about Iran. I mean, these people normally search security, but still I went on that direction, even with all the problems which was with it and the money problem and so on. So I decided still to go after it.
Wow. Okay. So what were some of those challenges that you faced, Cyrus, in terms of those early days of, trying to make it as a filmmaker? Did you decide to go to study and then try to get work, or how did that go?
So I did first my bachelor in economy. So because again, my parents said, let's do economy and then you will see if you like it. Perhaps it's just a child stuff. So I said, okay, I got my bachelor economy. Then I said, no, I still want to do this. So I went in a cinema school, and then, we did the cinema school. And after the cinema school, you come on the market and you understand that, everything you learned, it's like zero. So in the market, in the real world, it's everything different.
Right. Yeah, definitely similar here in the US. And not a lot of schooling. People come out of schooling, including myself, and don't feel like it was connected at all to what you need and to survive and to thrive in society. Did you then just start making your own projects, or were you able to work in other films? How did you kind of learn your craft then at that point?
Yeah, so I began first to do a few short movies, and also I had to do different works to do my usual life, and till 2012, where finally I did the Orchid, and then I began to have a few festivals, because the Orchid, we didn't get any funds, so I still decided to do it by my own. And we were nominated for the Luxembourgish Oscar. I had a few awards, but it didn't go further than this. But it gave me more
Momentum.
to continue.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, how have you found it? And, as you were climbing that ladder, so to speak, how did you find the challenge of funding? Because I know a lot of, especially in the US, there are not many resources for indie filmmakers who are trying to get funded, particularly I'd say in the narrative side. Did you I understand there's a Luxembourg Film Fund of some kind. Were you able to get funding
Yeah.
that way, or how did that?
Yeah, so there was the Luxembourgish Film Fund, but as a matter of fact, for me, it was difficult to get. I was a lot of time rejected, till one day I said it will never happen to me. So in 2016, I got again rejected for a short movie. So I decided to do with my own, and then I won the Luxembourgish Oscars. So I did also Oscar qualifying festival, and then things slowly changed, and I began to be funded. So I was funded with my next short film, Portraitist. I won the Luxembourgish Oscar again. I was also eligible I qualified for the Oscars also, but it didn't go further. And I had more than 55 awards, and then I got my funds for my future movie. And between this moment, I got also fund for the Red Suitcase, which I said it will be a good practice for me, because my future movie has the same directing than the Red Suitcase. So it was the perfect timing. But when I began to do the Red Suitcase, for me, again, it was like my child. So I had to give him all the care he needed. So I couldn't just go fast.
You couldn't just rush into it. Yeah, you have to take your time with it. Let's talk about the Red Suitcase then. On that note, as I mentioned to the listeners here, it's a really powerful film, and it's very timely. Unfortunately, obviously, given what's happening in Iran, particularly to girls and to women. But tell us a little about the project, the Red Suitcase. Like, what inspired you, especially for those who haven't seen it yet? But what inspired you to make it, and what was the process like in thinking about the story that you wanted to tell?
So all began because my parents are connected to Iran. So one day in discussion, my mother said, I was searching a short movie. And then my mother was talking about women expressing their opinions in Iran, that they went disappearing. I said, wow, is that possible nowadays? It was 2 years ago. So nobody was talking about Iranian problems. So I said, it's impossible. No court, no, just disappear. If somebody takes the chador off, the hijab off, disappear. I said, wow, if I do a short movie, I want to take a Iranian girl with hijab and something around this. So this was for sure. And that's how it started. And then I connected this very fast to an airport, because it's the place where you should travel and not to be afraid. You should go to holidays, you should go, but not be scared. I called my screenwriter, and then we began to write.
Wow. Okay. So it was relatively, at least the concept sounds like it kind of came to you somewhat quickly, or the general idea of this girl who is kind of faced with this decision of taking off her hijab. For those who haven't seen the film, without giving too much away, I mean, she's essentially being forced into a really difficult situation upon her arrival at the airport from Iran, that her father sent her into. Basically, what was, as you were started writing and creating the story, like, tell us about the thinking around wanting to tell that particular story, or did it just kind of come organically?
We had to choose, because there are a few topics which are very difficult in Iran. So this was the most reasonable way to shoot it also in Luxembourg, because I'm persecuted in Iran. So if I go in Iran, I will end up in jail. So I cannot go in Iran and do a movie against the regime. So this particular, because there are other topics which are all going in the stuff that the woman has no right, needs the consent of a man, and so on and so on. So this was something what was interesting, and we could connect it here. And again, the airport had a visually really good spaces to bring this situation in. So that's how you say it came organically, slowly together.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That it sort of just kept building. Did it?
And it was also building up. Sorry,
No,
otherwise
go
I will forget. And when I had my screenwriter, and then we were writing, he said, "Look, the problem is not just in Iran, because I'm from France, and I see the problem also here. We have somehow to build also something around the Occident girl that for them is also not easy." So then began this idea with the posters. that the woman is misused by selling products, by using the sexuality of the woman to sell products. And at the last shot of the movie, we see that behind these beautiful smiles, these girls are also not happy.
Right. That's a beautiful last shot of like you said, the kind of exploitation of women beyond just this Iranian girl who's this teenager is kind of the main focus of the film. I wonder if you could talk a little about this issue of forced marriage, or of, you know, what we see in the film of young women, children really in this case, being sent to kind of be forced into marriage or be forced into a very difficult situation really against their will before they even can fully consent to it. How did you, were you familiar with this happening and just being,
Yeah.
can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, regularly we hear the story also from Iran. They're sending their children to the US, and I heard a lot. And there was a girl, she was even 14 when they sent her to the United States to get married, but she ran away. And then I don't know, she found her brother in Italy and so on. So these stories are next to us. They are not just something, a fantasy and so on. It's when you're walking here, perhaps the girl who is walking there, it happened this to him. It's like around us and we don't see it. So it's very common. And it's parents, they said, look, we won't give security to our girl. Why she's crying? She will have enough money and it's okay. So, I mean, for them, it's clear that they are doing this for the children, and they get also some money, and the child, they get rid of the child, and the child has enough money to, so it's not asked what she wants.
Yeah, and would you say, Cyrus, it's particularly acute of a problem now in Iran, specifically because of how oppressive society is there for women and girls? I mean, our parents, and in this case, fathers, thinking, like you said, this is, I want my child to have a better life. It's not going to be here. This will give them that security. I mean, is it particularly bad of a problem now because of what's happening?
Yeah, also, but there is a part of tradition,
Right.
You keep first your hijab, you are with a man who is in this tradition, they didn't give her to anybody, somebody, they give it to the Iranian person who had the same tradition than them, so they want to keep the tradition. So it's
Right, so carry this.
otherwise they could ask her opinion. Do you like him? No, so we found somebody else, so this is happening. But no, we choose. You go.
Did your perspective, or did your team's perspective, I wonder, I mean, obviously this is something that's happening against the will of these minors, and is very difficult to watch and to know about. I mean, but did your views or did your understanding of this issue shift as you started to learn more and sort of create this story? Like, did it become in any way more complex or surprising, or did you feel like you kind of knew so much about it before you dove into the film?
No, I mean, sometimes, when the husband, the future husband is saying, I paid for it and so on and so on. Before I didn't think that this could have been said, but then I heard that somebody said it, said, I gave you all this money. Why, what's happening this? I said, wow, it's like a transaction. And actually this, I found out by doing researches, it's existing. So I put it in the dialogues. It's like a transaction, prostitution. I mean, it's not far from this, because if you get married, you have to sleep with me. So,
right.
And this it came out by researchers, because otherwise I could not have thought that this could happen. These dialogues could have been possible.
Yeah, I mean that moment in the film of this man saying, basically, like you said, it's a transaction. I pay.
And because
Yeah.
it's more complex than this, because they will bring her here till they're 16, I mean, in Europe, and they wait 2 years and then they marry her. So they do a small ceremony between them, because they know the girl will do nothing. It's in the tradition, patriarchal father and so on. The girl will say nothing. That's what happened. The girl didn't go to the police because she cannot go that far in her mind. So they keep her till 18 years and then they marry her on this real.
Wow. Okay. So there's a period in which
she's underage. Yeah.
She's underage, and wow. Have you met, or in your research, Cyrus, did you come across or meet with women who had gone through this experience?
No, I heard again. I heard from my mother that she knew some persons, but then whenever I wanted to go in contact these girls, they were scared to talk about it.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's talk a little bit about just the process of making the film, because you obviously work with an incredible young actor, several great actors and actresses, but the star of the film here, I mean, she's really extraordinary, and it's a really obviously difficult, I would say challenging character in some ways to take on, and it's so layered and emotional and really heartbreaking. What was that process of working with the actors and casting?
for Nawal, who played the role of the Persian girl, it was quite easy because I saw already in the casting that she had the same connection with the girl. So she was a lot in the art, and the girl was in the art. She's from a Maghrebian family where they had also this, patriarchal. So she knew about all this already. And as soon as in the casting, the scene to take the hijab off was the scene I was asking, it was so difficult for her that she was in tears and she didn't play the role. She played the real. She was really in it. So it was done. The rest
Yeah,
was just working and rehearsal.
right.
But
Yeah, she really was fully immersed. I mean, it really brought us immediately into it as the audience. Talk about just if you would, Cyrus, the structure of the film, because I thought it was interesting. You know, we see her. I mean, essentially, kind of struggling to, from my view, struggling to leave. I mean, struggling to decide sort of how to get out of the situation. Kind of listening to to this man as he's on the phone with her father, and I mean, just the tension of that. It really built the sense of dread and conflict, I would say, for the audience. What was your thought around just the structure of kind of how she would react to making this decision? Okay, I'm going to take off my job but I kind of feel like I don't know what to do next. Like, how did you develop that part of the story?
first of all, I didn't want that we are too much connected to the girl because we see just a red suitcase there, intriguing, and we see a girl. So the audience is already making his point. Ooh, what is wrong with this girl? So we are judging her. So this I really wanted to happen because we judge on what we see. So a luggage, a girl, hijab, terrorism, stolen, and so on and so on. So this kind of judgment I wanted to keep sometimes, this intriguing, till we come to the door. And even the police thinks that she did something bad because they are treating her already like something happened. Even with the audience, we watch inside and so on, and we see it's nothing there. So still we can think that she stole it. No, the paintings and the passport, they have the same signature. So it's definitely not a problem with her. So, and then I decided to go further. When all these things were slowly gone, I decided to go further. That was the first point. And for me, a very important condition because myself, uh, with my skin color and so on and so on, I have this problem all the time. If I go in a restaurant, if I go out, if I'm in the airport, already they are watching somehow, you know. So this
Yeah.
judgment is like every day. So this I wanted to keep. That was the first point.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And I think, like you said, I mean, just in your lived experience, I'm sure you drew on that. And the airport is a place where, like you said, people who look differently, what they're wearing, what their skin colors are, what their gender is, their age, are treated differently.
But also, I'm not
Yeah,
judging this because
right,
this my country fucked up.
right.
So that's why I mean, so they fucked up in our country. So now all the people has to pay the consequences. You know, it could have been different, but it's like this, and I accept this because they are crazy. This regime is crazy. I'm accepting what is going, and accepting the judgment which is on me. I'm accepting this totally.
Would you be able, Cyrus, to talk to us a little bit about that? Because you know the regime obviously has been getting, you know, I would say at least in the U.S. more attention than it certainly was, like you said, a few years ago. You know, there was reported recently that the regime made I think what's being viewed widely as kind of a token compromise in terms of the protests and the religious beliefs and you know, it seems like that's perhaps more show or theater than reality in terms of changing the reality on the ground. But what are you hearing from your family or from friends who are there, and what is your view of what's happening?
I have one sentence to clarify this. A father who hit his son regularly and regularly, if he will tell to you, now I will not hit you, would you believe this? So it's impossible.
Right.
We know we are dealing now.
Right.
It's over, and there is no negotiation or talking. Everybody knows what we are dealing. So the rest is just talking.
And I imagine, yeah, and I imagine, yeah, if you would just tell us a little bit more about, what are you, on that point, what are you hearing from folks who are there? I mean, or are you in touch with people who are in Iran now, and especially creative people? What's the challenge?
I'm also talking about this here. I don't know. I mean, I'm also a bit scared, but now I talk so much about this. So it's true that in our country, the old generation is a bit scared to do anything. But the younger generation, they don't care. They go on the street. I'm so sorry for them because they are young, they are innocent, and they are courageous, and they go outside of the street, they manifest and so on. The older generation, not so much. That's why, as soon as I decided to do Red SUITCASE, I said the main character has to be very young because they are courageous. They are going in front and they are not scared.
Yeah, it really is extraordinary to see the protests, particularly women and girls taking the risks that they're taking, as you said, being disappeared and worse.
And dying. And today they're being shot even.
Right, right.
So that's why, for me, this girl taking the free will, as she's dominant by the father, the rules, the tradition, and she's 16. You know how much courage it was to take this off and to run away. So that was the main point, that she has the courage to do this. She doesn't know where to go, how to do, but she did it.
Yeah, she's really, then it's sort of like, I made this incredible decision, and now I have to figure out what to do next in this foreign place that I'm just.
And also, that it's not premeditated. She didn't say, I will do like this, I will do. You feel this because she's going next to the door and she doesn't know what to do. And then suddenly she sees some girl passing without, with the hair open. And so she says, why not? So it's not prepared, like, I will do this. It's just, I just don't want to go to him. What shall I do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful and moving and poignant look at.
It's very easy to understand her opinion. I have to go with him, and then I have to sleep with him, and I have, it's horrible to have to think like the guy is 55 and she's 16. So,
yeah, can't even imagine. But I think you captured that just brutal, difficult, unimaginable dilemma in a sense, really, really beautifully. I just wanted to ask you in those last few minutes, because a few more questions just about, we do hear a lot through our nonprofit and our film festival from Iranian filmmakers who have, really challenging limitations in Iran, of course, to make any film now, I think especially. What is your sense of the challenges that filmmakers and creative people face in Iran right now?
You have to be smart when you're doing movies. So you have to do something which is not going against the regime, but somehow put something, before Kiarostami, he managed a bit to be friend with the regime and still to do his problematic. But it's very risky. I mean, if you take the hijab off on a woman in a movie, I mean, it's already done for you. So, yeah. The best way is or you do a movie and you escape, or you do a movie abroad and you don't go back.
Yeah, that's certainly what we've seen and heard from Iranian filmmakers we've spoken with. It's an extremely difficult situation. I guess my last few questions just around, there's just, I think the last year has been a really interesting moment, at least here in the US and Hollywood, in terms of representation and diversity and storytelling. What is your sense of how things are shifting or not shifting for filmmakers from diverse or underrepresented backgrounds around the world?
I cannot talk for the other countries. The only thing you are talking about diversity, but I think the most beautiful garden is a garden where all the flowers are different. So I think to have good movies, we need diversity from all the directors, because they are all different, and then we will be in the beautiful garden with all the flowers from different colors. Then we will have the best movies.
That's beautifully said. And I fully agree. I guess last question, Cyrus, you're working, I understand you're developing your first feature, and was curious, just tell us a little about that process, or what you're working on next, what you're looking to do next.
Yeah, so the next future movie is about a 6-year-old Iranian boy who escapes with his mother the revolution, and they find shelter in Luxembourg. And in the camp, this 6-year-old boy befriends herself with an old lady, old Russian lady, and it's about their friendship in the middle of the camp.
Beautiful. Excited to see that and see that come to fruition. Well, again, our guest today, Cyrus Neshvad. The film is The Red Suitcase. It is Oscar shortlisted for 2023. Really huge congratulations to you on that achievement and all of your achievements to date. And we're excited to see what happens not only with this film, but your feature and beyond. And really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jared, for having me.
Absolutely.